Chapter 1421. Unpredictable Things in Life. Although Xuezong is a three-eyed tribe member, he is not annoying at all. He looks like a happy old man who is obsessed with studying. Fatty Sue rolled his eyes and laughed. Okay, I'll invite you to visit us. Our boss is very hospitable, and he is very rich. He can support you to study the knowledge of the earthly world. During the communication with Xuezong, Fatty Sue got a regrettable news. The three-eyed tribe, which they thought was a prehistoric civilization, has also experienced many interruptions in history. To this day, their historical records are actually very short, and even many events have been passed down in the form of myths and legends. However, Fatty Sue is not stupid at all. This most knowledgeable old gentleman in Nash country is a living database. As long as he can be brought back, he can be unraveled from him and investigate a lot of information about the underground tribes. Aguiwan glanced at Fatty Sue and said, "In terms of cultural preservation, we in Britannia are better, right?" Fatty Sue said unconvincedly, "You dare to say that you stole something?" Aguiwan's tone stagnated, and he was unable to refute Fatty Sue's words. The three of them passed through several doors in the shaking building and ran towards the entrance of the Holy Spirit Hall. Xuezong's eyes were full of expectations for the future. What kind of brilliant sparks will be born from the contact of two different human civilizations? It's really exciting. I have been thinking about the origin of the three-eyed people and whether there are advanced, intelligent creatures other than us in this world. Now, this opportunity has finally arrived. He hugged the notebook in his arms tightly, and his excitement was beyond words. Just as they passed a corner of a corridor, the sound of a bullet suddenly rang in their ears. Bang! The crisp sound echoed in the white corridor. With a string of blood splashing and falling to the ground, Xuezong's eyes suddenly became a little dazed. His huge body kept running forward, but suddenly he slowly collapsed. Fatty Sue, who was originally frowning and planning to argue with Xuezong, turned around when he heard the gunshot. The next moment, his face turned extremely pale, because he saw the blood splashing from Xuezong's chest and his body falling heavily to the ground. Boom! The huge body fell to the ground, and Aguiwan was also stunned for a moment. She didn't expect that someone would secretly shoot a cold gun. She turned her head sharply to look in the direction where the bullet came from and saw a woman with short silver hair and cold eyes holding a silver pistol looking here. Lon Maluok. Aguiwan was relieved when she saw that the person coming was her companion, but soon she turned her head to look at Xuezong, who was lying on the ground, and frowned slightly. On his chest, the white clothes were stained red. Lon Maluok's shot was aimed at taking his life and went straight through his heart. Fatty Sue walked to his side in disbelief. After coming to his senses, he quickly took out the medicine and injected him. "Hey, old man, hold on. Don't die. You still have to go with us to the world above the ground and study the cultural history of our human race." Xuezong fell to the ground weakly. He turned his head and glanced at Fatty Sue with a dazed look in his eyes. He didn't understand why he died. Why did someone want to kill him? But he was too old with a weak body and a pierced heart, so he didn't have any strength to say a word. He just used his last strength to hand the notebook in his hand to Fatty Sue, and then his eyes lost their expression. Until the moment of death, he didn't close his eyes, and Fatty Sue saw a strong unwillingness in his eyes. Obviously, he would soon be able to see a different world. Why was he just one step away, and he was going to be killed here? He couldn't figure it out. Lon Malak walked here step by step, looking at the fat man who stopped the bleeding of the three-eyed people. She frowned, and at the same time pointed the gun at Fatty Sue. "Hey, what are you doing?" Fatty Sue turned his head. For the first time, he did not show fear in front of the gun, but asked angrily, "Why did you shoot? Why did you kill him?" Lon Malak was stunned for a moment, then sneered. "He is a three-eyed tribe member. Do you need a reason to kill him? You guy, I just saved your life. Don't you even say thank you." Lon Malak was a little puzzled. She just noticed the footsteps of people here and rushed over, and saw a three-eyed tribe member chasing her companions and another human. Without any hesitation, she shot and killed the three-eyed tribe member. But what is the situation now? Humans, glaring at her because she killed the three-eyed tribe member? What a hell! Fatty Sue roared angrily, but he is just an old man who reads books all day. He didn't do anything to us, and he was going to take us away from this damn place. Lon Malik was a little surprised. After they came here, every three-eyed tribe member they met treated humans as livestock. But now she actually saw someone empathizing with the three-eyed tribe. To use the words of you, Huashu people, this is the Holy Mother. Lon Malo Kus said, sarcastically. No matter how he treats you, an alien is an alien. There is nothing wrong with killing a race that feeds on humans. On the contrary, you, as a human, empathize with a race that eats humans. How stupid. Fatty Sue was speechless for a moment. He couldn't think of how to refute Lanmalok. Although this was a sad misunderstanding, was Lanmalok wrong? Shuezong might be very friendly to them, but in this country where humans are livestock, he must have eaten the indigenous humans. Fatty Sue's heart was full of mixed feelings, and he fell into great confusion. Agar Guewin walked over and said to Lanmalok he is a man under chaos, and it seems... She glanced at Fatty Sue and then slowly gave a judgment. A useless waste. She had noticed this a long time ago. When in the library, Fatty Sue's performance was completely unlike that of a person with strong abilities. Because a strong person will also have a strong temperament and will. Fatty Sue gives people the feeling that he is a fat man who is harmless to humans and animals and easily makes a fuss. Lamrock didn't say any more nonsense, took out a self-destruct collar, and threw it to Fatty Sue. He said to him coldly, "Put it on yourself." 2-1, and facing Fatty Sue, a cowardly guy with an ability index of 8,000 points, it was inevitable that he would be captured. However, isn't the reason why this world is wonderful because there are miracles? Looking at the scholar who looked at the sky with his eyes until his death and longed to see the world on the ground, Fatty Sue's heart was filled with uncontrollable anger. I don't understand any great principles, no matter what humans or three-eyed people are. I only know that when he told me those knowledge, he was sincere to me. He pressed his right hand on the ground, and the next moment, a surging white airflow gushed out from the hundreds of holes in his exoskeleton armor, and the temperature of the entire corridor dropped to -20 degrees in just 1 second. Chapter 14:22 The Loser Eats Dust. The exoskeleton armor carefully built by Luke Heron can improve the combat power of everyone in Zhang Yi's team, especially for Fatty Sue and Uncle Yu. Fatty Sue's talent potential is theoretically higher than Uncle Yu. However, due to his personality, his ability index was only judged by Zhang Yi to be 8,000 points. However, if he can overcome his cowardice and give full play to his strength, according to the analysis of Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin, he can even reach the level of 9,000 points. This is only a theoretical possibility. I don't think that guy will muster up the courage to fight others at the risk of death, Zhang Yi once concluded. Another point is that Zhang Yi's protection of them is too good. He did not expect that this would happen, and Fatty Sue would be completely alone. He also did not expect that because of an accident, the anger in Fatty Sue's heart overcame his fear. Because of his affection and sympathy for Shuezong and the resentment caused by being humiliated by Lanmarok, he broke out for the first time in his life. The armor sprayed liquid nitrogen, which quickly caused the surrounding air to cool down. White ice crystals spread in all directions along the right palm of Fatty Sue, which was pressed on the ground. However, this had no effect on Lanmalok and Agugwen. The combat uniforms they wore were designed to withstand extreme low temperatures, and they were least afraid of temperature drops. Is this guy crazy? He actually wants to fight both of us at the same time. For this three-eyed tribe? Then he must be crazy. Lanmalok and Agugwen didn't expect that Fatty Sue would dare to take action. Under ultra-low temperature conditions, the water in the air quickly freezes into ice crystals. This gave Fatty Sue a weapon to fight with. Blowing snow. Fatty Sue's fat face showed a serious look, and a raging storm gushed out from around him, mixed with frost in the surrounding air, whistling towards Agugwen and Lanmalok in front. Lanmalok snorted coldly and took a step forward to block Agugwen. Clang! She pulled out the western sword at her waist, made a fencing move, and stabbed towards Fatty Sue like lightning. Glorious Knight, Lanmarok, a reinforcement mutant, with a supernatural power index of 9,500 points. Her sword was so fast that it was blurred, and the whole person left a series of broken images in the air. But Fatty Sue raised his arms, and with a hiss, the armor on his wrists popped open, revealing 8 spray holes. Liquid nitrogen was sprayed directly in her direction, and the white ice mist instantly enveloped the corridor in front of her. Lamarok's body was frozen in an instant. She shook hard, and the ice and snow on her body shattered, clattering. Fatty Sue was unwilling to wear a dog chain as a prisoner. He looked down at Shuezong's body, gritted his teeth, and finally decided to send him back to dust. Liquid nitrogen sprayed on his body and soon froze him into an ice sculpture. Fatty Sue blew a breath at him, and the cold current swept through, and his huge body actually exploded with a bang and turned into ice chips all over the sky. This is ice burial, known as the cleanest way to deal with corpses in the world. He knew that he could not defeat the 2 knights of the Round Table. No, strictly speaking, even if he was fighting against the combat-type Lamarok alone, he knew that he was no match for the other party. However, he now had the courage to escape. Compared with the cowardly him in the past who only knew to shrink when facing a strong enemy, he now had some courage. Fatty Sue held the book that Shuezong handed to him before his death. Although Shuezong did not say it, judging from the fact that he wanted to take it away at a critical moment, this must be an extremely important book. Fatty Sue held the huge book and ran out quickly with the help of the exoskeleton mecha. Agwuin looked at Shuezong's body that turned into ice chips and frowned slightly. She actually had some good feelings for this old man. But now that everyone is dead, there is nothing to say. That fat guy is not a very powerful person, don't worry about him. Lamarok said coldly. He has a book that looks very important in his hand. After that, she pointed to her neck. Agwuin sighed, and then his body quickly vanished, turning into a ball of transparent liquid that went into her neck. Lamarok immediately chased in the direction that Fatty Sue had fled. 30 seconds later, Fatty Sue stood there stiffly, not daring to move, not because he didn't want to, but because he had a rapier on his neck. The other party only needed to use a little more force to pierce his throat from the connection of his mecha. Even with the help of the mecha, the huge gap in strength still made his escape plan fail. I thought you were quite capable, but I didn't expect you to be so weak. I really can't understand why chaos brought you here, Lamarok said bluntly. Fatty Sue looked at the woman in front of him with a face full of mockery and contempt, and deep in his heart, a feeling of humiliation was born. He began to feel sad and angry about his own weakness. It turned out that after losing the protection of Zhang Yi's wings, he would be so weak. At this time, the shaking of the Holy Spirit Temple had stopped. It was obvious that it was not caused by an earthquake. However, a strong sense of uneasiness still enveloped everyone's heart. Lamarok put a collar on Fatty Sue and said coldly, "Let's go. I don't have time to dawdle here." More than half an hour had passed since they were exiled. During this time, they should have found the direction of the main gate quickly. However, due to the attraction of the breath of the fragments of the Source of God and the constraints of other team members, they wasted a lot of time. And this was exactly the purpose of General Babulu, who was guarding the main gate. However, this method could not trap them for a long time. With the help of modern intelligence systems, even if they were exiled to an unknown area, they could slowly piece together the puzzle of the entire Holy Spirit Temple based on the appearance of the Holy Spirit Temple that they had observed before and the spatial intelligence they had obtained along the way. Although they could not get the full picture, it was enough to support them to move closer to the main gate. Finally, Zhang Yi and Liang Yu completed the reunion. Seeing that she brought Mordred, the captive, Zhang Yi didn't care too much, and just said, "Now the only one missing is Fatty Sue. I hope the guy will be fine. Although Fatty Sue is not good, he is everyone's happy pill, and he is also Zhang Yi's usual talking and playing partner." In the past, Zhang Yi also intended to train him, but if he was left alone, Zhang Yi was really afraid that he would be killed. At this time, Hua sniffed, looked up and said to Zhang Yi, "I think I smell the fat on him." Chapter 1423 Return the Things. Zhang Yi looked at the tall palace door in front of him and narrowed his eyes slowly. I felt it too. They walked forward, and after passing the door, they saw Fatty Su. They also saw the group of the Knights of the Round Table. At this time, almost all of their groups gathered here, but they didn't see anyone from the Garuda group. Both sides stared at each other, especially the captives in each other's hands. In addition to Fatty Su being controlled by the other side's two women, Zhang Yi also saw Cheongda. As a captain-level alien, Cheongda also followed Zhang Yi and the others. Now it's good, both sides have two captives of the other side. It seems that in some aspects, they have thought of the same thing. Lancelot looked at Zhang Yi leisurely. What a coincidence. I didn't expect us to be together again. And those guys from Garuda disappeared. Could it be that they set up another trap? Zhang Yi's eyes flickered, and he quickly said, if he has such a powerful ability, why wait until now? He quickly figured out the truth of the matter, so he understood why Gao Chongkong and the others were not here, but there was no need to tell Lancelot. He released Mordred and Galahad from the shadow space. Exchange prisoners. I don't like to waste time, Zhang Yi said lightly. Lancelot sneered and waved his hand. It's just right. We have the same number of prisoners. Both sides did not say any nonsense, and injected the antidote to the prisoners neatly, then untied the self-destruct collar on their necks, and then handed the prisoners to the other side. Fatty Su looked at Zhang Yi with an apologetic look, but Zhang Yi did not blame him. With Fatty Su's strength, he did not die here because the people of the Knights of the Round Table were wary of him. After the exchange of hostages, Lancelot said to Zhang Yi, don't you think the current scene is a bit too coincidental? Zhang Yi said, I think so too. Tell me what you think. There are not so many coincidences in this world. There are only inevitability and people's deliberate actions. If by chance, the people of their two teams will touch each other, it's nothing. But their frequent contact and fighting and meeting in this place is not a coincidence at all. In addition, Gao Chongkong and others did not appear here, which further confirmed Zhang Yi's inner thoughts. He did not speak first, but planned to ask Lancelot's opinion. Lancelot was silent for a moment and said, the gatekeeper we met when we entered the palace had spatial or rule abilities, and he exiled us to this huge palace. It seemed random, but in fact he could control the operation of this space and let us come into contact. Then, he used the sacred source to force us to fight. I don't know why, but the Garudas are not here. But if they were here, the same situation would happen to us. He looked at Zhang Yi and smiled slightly. He is letting us kill each other to consume our strength. He spread his arms and said easily, isn't this good news? This means that they are not strong enough to crush us. Zhang Yi nodded, I think so too. But one thing is worse. Zhang Yi opened the topographic map of the Holy Spirit Temple drawn by his intelligence system and shook his head helplessly. If he can control the space here and deliberately make us come into contact, then the map we have now is fake, so how can we leave here? The Holy Spirit Temple is too large and built with barrier stones. They cannot violently destroy the wall to leave. If the other party can still freely manipulate the space here, they will be like mice being played with in a maze, and may never be able to leave here and find a way to the upper floors of the Holy Spirit Hall. Fatty Su stood behind Zhang Yi and looked at Agugwiwen quietly, with a look of wanting to say something but stopping. Zhang Yi did not notice Fatty Su's expression, and was still communicating with Lancelot. Lancelot said, the exit must exist. We can at least remember the rooms we have passed through. In this case, let's start exploring separately. As long as we don't fight each other, it will save a lot of trouble. Zhang Yi had no better way at this time. Before he figured out Babula's ability, he could only find a way out in the dumbest way. Well, let's do it this way. Zhang Yi was about to leave here and find an exit. At this time, Fatty Su grabbed his clothes. Lauda. Zhang Yi looked at Fatty Su in surprise, only to see that Fatty Su looked like he wanted to say something but stopped. His face was full of anxiety, and his eyes kept looking at the members of the Knights of the Round Table. Zhang Yi followed his gaze and saw two female knights, carrying an ancient book as tall as a person on their backs. What's wrong? Fatty Su pointed at the book on Lamarok's back and said, That book is mine. It's very important, and they can't take it away. Book. The book was too big, and although Zhang Yi saw it, he didn't care at first. Fatty Su used the fastest time to explain his previous experience. Anyway, it's here. These are the notes made by an old scholar who spent his whole life working on them. They may contain the information about ancient civilization that you want. Hearing this, Zhang Yi's eyes suddenly became serious. The reason why he chose to come to the snowy plateau was because of these ancient documents. His purpose was to find out what the gatekeepers of the underworld of Qingdao and the snake people under the Qinling Mountains were. In order to face possible threats in the future, the ancient epic of King Geezer can move his heart, not to mention the documents of the Nash kingdom with an even older civilization. Wait. Zhang Yi stopped the knights of the Round Table who were about to leave. Lancelot and the others turned around and looked at Zhang Yi with frowns. What's wrong? Is there anything else? Zhang Yi pointed at Lanmalok. She seems to have taken my friend's things. I need her to return them. Hearing Zhang Yi's words, Lanmalok immediately grasped the rapier at his waist and protected the book sideways. They were not stupid, and also understood the importance of this book. They did not have a space-based alien, and could not take away the entire Nash Kingdom's royal library, so they had to find the most precious documents and bring them back. This notebook that the scholar spent his life on was a priceless treasure to them, more precious than the source of God. Chapter 14:20 For the advantage is mine X2. Agwuin spoke calmly at this time and said to Zhang Yi, "We got this book from the three-eyed people. I don't know when it became his." Fatty Su pointed at Agwuin excitedly and said, "You killed Shuezong, and Shuezong gave it to me when he was dying." Agwuin did not deny this matter, but he did not continue to speak. Things they would never hand them over. Lancelot glanced at Fatty Su and then said to Zhang Yi, "Things without an owner belong to whoever gets them. I don't think you are willing to argue with us for a book at this time." Zhang Yi also glanced at Fatty Su. He was a little surprised, because he hadn't seen Fatty Su so excited about something for a long time. The notebook was the life's work of Shuezong, which was extremely precious. Zhang Yi looked at Lancelot and said, "You took the things from my people, so you must return them." People who know Zhang Yi know that Zhang Yi never makes trouble, but he is never afraid of trouble. So when he said this, he was ready to go to war with the Knights of the Round Table. Lancelot frowned and stared at Zhang Yi with cold eyes. "Are you sure you want to go to war with me at this time?" Now they are in the territory of the Three-Eyed Clan, and they may face attacks from the Three-Eyed Clan at any time. If there is another internal fight, it is definitely not the most rational choice. However, Lancelot does not understand Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi smiled, smiling indifferently. "At this time? What time is it now? I'm really sorry if you don't want to go to war with me, then return the things. My purpose of coming here is just to get everything I want, so whether the opponent is human or the Three-Eyed Clan, it doesn't matter to me. Whoever stands in my way, I will eliminate him." He didn't come here for the righteousness of the human race, because that has no meaning anymore. Now it can be confirmed that the Three-Eyed Clan is not as powerful as the White Dragon's tribe. Even if this tribe emerges from underground, their backward civilization will not pose a subversive threat to human society. All carbon-based creatures are equal in front of the god of death of love. On the Knights of the Round Table side, everyone's expression also became solemn and indifferent. But there was no fear on their faces, because the gap in strength was very obvious. On Zhang Yi's side, there was only Liang Yu, an alien who seemed to be relatively powerful. Uncle Yu and Fatty Su were able to reach the level of 9,000 plus with the help of the power of the mecha, but the strength they exerted could only be considered as the middle and lower levels. But on the side of the Knights of the Circle, everyone was an elite. Zhang Yi smiled without saying a word and reached out to touch the flower on his shoulder. He never fought a battle that he was not sure of. If he was not absolutely confident in his strength, he would not be so arrogant. The existence of the two Ypsilons meant that they had an absolute advantage in this battle. The people of the Knights of the Round Table did not know this. Lancelot stared at Zhang Yi, his mouth slightly raised, revealing his wolf-like white teeth. It seems that you must go to war with us. Zhang Yi said coldly. I said, no one can bully my people. No one can take away what I want. Lancelot sneered in his heart. His ability index is only 18,000 points, which is comparable to Zhang Yi. However, Zhang Yi does not know that with the assistance of Green Knight, Bows, and Pure Knight, Agurgaiwan, his ability index can immediately soar to more than 20,000 points. His abilities Sword and Shield. The real sword is actually Sword in the Tree, Bows, and Pure Water, Agurgaiwan, which can heal all injuries. When the abilities of aliens can assist each other, they can burst out with exponential power. Even a Delta-level alien can provide great help to Ypsilon. Just like Yang Xinxin's mind and her, Angel of Desire, they have provided Zhang Yi with help that is no less than that of an Ypsilon-level alien many times. Both of them firmly believe that once the war begins, they will win the final victory. And no one is willing to give up the important information left by Shuezong. So this battle is unavoidable. In fact, as long as Zhang Yi wants to fight, Lancelot has no way to refuse. He could put everyone into the shadow space, and then chase the entire Knights of the Round Table with a sniper rifle. By then, even if Lancelot was not afraid, all his men would be killed. Lancelot stepped forward and said to Zhang Yi with a smile, our goal is not to kill each other. After all, at this time, a life-and-death fight is not good for anyone. So, I propose that we have a gentleman's duel between the two of us. We stop at the limit, and the loser will not be eligible to get the Three-Eyed Tribe's notes. How about it? Stop at the limit? I'm afraid it's not that easy, but Zhang Yi looked at the flower on his shoulder and agreed to Lancelot's proposal. The advantage is mine. In the hearts of the two, they all thought so. They chose a huge conference hall for the duel, which would allow the two Ypsilon-level aliens to fully display their abilities. As for the others, they were told to watch the battle outside and not to disturb their duel. But what was the reality? Lancelot had already quietly brought Boss and Egwene with him. As for Zhang Yi, it was even more so. Everyone was in his alien space, and the top henchman Huahua also began to sharpen its sharp claws on Zhang Yi's armor. Gentlemen's duel? Gentlemen on the surface only. Zhang Yi and Lancelot entered the palace from the front and back doors. Then the two of them reached out and locked the door tacitly. The two were separated by a distance of several hundred meters, which was not far for them and could be reached in an instant. So, when the door lock fell and made a click sound, without any signs, Huahua suddenly jumped off Zhang Yi's shoulder, swelled up against the wind, and turned into a giant beast and ran straight towards Lancelot. Zhang Yi turned around, holding two white owls in his hands, and the dark void energy wrapped in holy silver bullets gushed out towards Lancelot like a torrential rain. Zhang Yi's sudden attack did not catch Lancelot off guard, and he was ready for the battle. The protective shield on his left hand immediately emerged, and a vine on his right arm snaked down, and then quickly turned into a green giant sword with a strange shape. Boom! Facing Huahua, who pounced in front of him in an instant, the tree sword in Lancelot's hand directly burst out into a forest, directly blocking Huahua. Roar! Huahua roared, and the huge claws flashed with a cold light, tearing down directly. And Zhang Yi's void bullet rain also tore these bushes like shredded paper. But just a moment later, these trees grew violently at a more vigorous speed, spreading to all corners of the room like germs. Chapter 14:25 Trinity. The vitality of plants has an upper limit that humans cannot reach. They bathe in the sun, suck nutrients from the earth, and thrive. As long as there are enough nutrients, trees can be towering. The same is true for the ability of the Green Knight boss. He can take root in the bodies of aliens and absorb their nutrients to make himself stronger. Therefore, the upper limit of Boss's ability depends on the host he possesses. When he became the sword in Lancelot's hand, the bushes he incarnated became even bigger and tougher. Zhang Yi kept pulling the trigger with cold eyes, and the black rain of bullets enveloped the entire room, while another area was completely covered by huge trees. The black rain of bullets kept destroying the forest, and the forest was constantly destroyed and reborn. The two sides frantically fought for the territory of this room, forming a terrifying balance in the middle area. Hua flapped its wings and flew in the air, opened its bloody mouth at the middle of the bush, and shot a high-energy particle beam directly over. Bang! 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 Huge branches crisscrossed and blocked it. The trees became more and more tough, and each fiber was comparable to the toughest steel wire. Hua destroyed a large area of forest with a breath, leaving extremely terrifying scars. But it looked powerful, but it did not break through the defense of the sword in the tree. Soon, the broken trees sprouted new buds again and attacked Zhang Yi and Hua. Something is wrong. The intelligence did not say that this guy is a plant-attributed alien. Zhang Yi frowned and immediately felt that the situation was a little beyond his expectations. Under the cover of the bushes, Lancelot also had a solemn look in his eyes and gritted his teeth and said, "This guy actually has an Epsilon-level pet. Damn it, didn't the intelligence say that it only has the strength of the top delta? But if it's just this strength, I can handle it completely." With the assistance of Boss and Egwene, his strength has also been greatly improved. Even if he faces two opponents at the same time, it is 3 against 2, and he will not fall into a huge disadvantage. Zhang Yi's hands continuously released void bullets, while thinking about countermeasures in his mind. The ability of the plant system is very strong in defense and regeneration. It seems that only by finding Lancelot's body can we quickly defeat him. However, my intelligence must be wrong. Forget it. Deng Shentong has done his best. I still have to rely on myself next. We must first figure out what his ability is and what this damn bush is. At this time, Zhang Yi and Hua were equivalent to fighting 2 Epsilons at the same time, so they became more cautious. Zhang Yi directly opened the different space, took out a dozen napalm bombs from the arsenal, and threw them into the bushes. In a limited space, this weapon can burst out thousands of degrees Celsius of high temperature. Even steel will be melted. Facing trees, flame is definitely an excellent weapon. Sun Luo Wanxiang. Zhang Yi opened the dimensional door to block himself, to prevent the energy released by the burning of napalm bombs in a limited space from hurting himself and Hua. Then he detonated these napalm bombs on the spot. In an instant, the whole room immediately turned into a sea of flames, swallowing up everything the eyes could see. However, this situation did not last too long. A moment later, Zhang Yi watched a huge water ball rise in the room, swallowing up all the flames. Glorious Knight, Egwene, ability codename, Pure Water. She is a pure auxiliary alien. Pure water can heal injuries and of course swallow up flames. Another point is that water gives birth to wood. Her ability complements the sword in the tree of Boss. With her, the power of the sword in the tree will become even stronger. Therefore, she, Lancelot, and Boss are a trinity. When the 3 of them merge, they will also burst out with a combat power comparable to the Black Chariot level. Trees, water. This is definitely not the power of Lancelot alone. Zhang Yi had seen Lancelot take action before. He was an alien who could release black flames. It is reasonable to have 2 abilities at the same time, but 3, and the abilities with great differences in compatibility with each other, that is absolutely impossible. In the huge water ball, vines wrapped around Lancelot's body. Zhang Yi sneered, "Is this the gentleman's duel you mentioned? So you brought people with you." Lancelot showed his white teeth and sneered, "You're still talking about me. Don't you have helpers around you?" Neither of them is a good person who keeps his promises. They fight just to win, or even kill each other. Where is the integrity and morality? Zhang Yi's eyes became much more solemn. The combination of water and wood makes the idea of fire attack no longer feasible. He himself is not an alien who specializes in attack, but is better at wasting time and fighting. However, the alien with wood attributes is obviously also a master in this area, and is not afraid of a long-term war of attrition with him. What's more, even if Zhang Yi breaks through the defense of the sword in the tree, behind the sword in the tree, there is a Lancelot who focuses on attacking. This time, close combat, long-range combat, burst, and consumption are really not dominant. Boom! Lancelot didn't give Zhang Yi time to think. In a flash, Thousands of sharp vines extended from the wildly growing bushes and stabbed at Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi retreated subconsciously, and his body suddenly touched the wall behind him. It's a bit bad. The barrier stone has a restraining effect on my ability. Even if I want to fight with him, the area where I can travel through space is limited to this room. It's calculated. Zhang Yi had to admit that Lancelot was indeed a difficult opponent, which caught him off guard. However, just like this, he couldn't beat him. Zhang Yi's hands. Bai Xiao was taken into the alien space by Zhang Yi. He turned to draw out the horizontal sword. Within the short and medium distance, the role that firearms can play is limited, and it is better to use his sword. Facing the bushes that quickly filled the entire room, Zhang Yi's right eye flashed with brilliance, and the space in front of him instantly distorted. God, destroy. The strongest attack method within the short and medium distance, distorting space. God, destroy. Bang. 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 The huge bushes shattered before they were 30 meters away from Zhang Yi, turning into green powder all over the sky. The bushes covering most of the room were wiped out by this move. Only then could Zhang Yi see Lancelot's appearance through the bushes. On his right arm, 7 or 8 slender vines extended from the sword in the tree, piercing deep into his arm. And at his neck, you can see a transparent substance wrapped around his body. Is it the attached aliens?